Urban Tango recap video. So in this video we'll have our classes from Monday the 3rd and 6th of March, and at the end is the video from the recap from our Fusion all day in Cardiff, which was filmed as a separate video, so to have its own intro. So on Monday we looked at Boleos and some pianasas. So we started off with a side step to the left, twisting the follower back, and then bringing her back round. If I make that twist backwards by rotating my chest and then whip it through, this imparts some impetus to the follower's leg. Notice she's keeping her head on top of her shoulders, she's pivoting on the ball of her standing leg, and this causes the leg to whip up. We also looked at a form of Boleo where I step to the side, twist my chest to the left, and then just lift my chest up, which brings the foot up. And then we can combine the two together, and the follower can choose how she chooses to interpret this move. We then took this from a back circular Boleo into front circular by bringing her around and therefore imparting the momentum to the front, so we can get the combinations of Boleos, which we can also take into a Cardiff by the leader still making this chest movement, but while walking backwards around the follower. Excellent one, followers balance that. We then looked at turning this into a pianassa. So from our back Boleo into our front forward Boleo, if I use this opportunity when I'm bringing her around to actually step behind her, so I'm moving my leg around and behind, I can twist my chest to the left, and that brings the high leg wrap, so bringing the leg up and around to the side. I can then pivot her out and walk through. So I think that's everything we taught on Monday. On Thursday we looked at the Ocho Cortado. So we taught what normal teachers teach, what slightly better teachers teach, and then what really good teachers can teach. So most people will think of Ocho Cortado as this sequence of steps where the leader steps forward, rocks their weight back, follower rocks back on her back leg, goes forward, the leader turns to the side, brings his feet together, the follower steps through, and then we both step to the side, sink in, and the follower goes into the cross, and we walk out. So that's what most teachers teach. They teach this as a set series of steps, a bit like a ballroom teacher.
Very linear.
And it's very linear. However, if you think about this as a rock step and a twist, so I'm leading my follower backwards, and then I'm really opening up the space as if I'm going to take it into a hero, we can make a very, very circular layer. And then we use the momentum of the turn to actually get this sink, so we're not forcing a sink here. And then to lead the cross, I'm twisting back the other way, which causes the follower to pivot, and then we can walk out. So we go from just what normal teachers teaches to slightly better teachers being able to teach the rotation. We're then going to look at a variation, which we'll put in a leg wrap, which we're going to do this way around, because as I take my follower to the side, I can put my right leg in and we can get this leg wrap. So I'm still leading across at this point, I've just changed the position of my right leg, which causes her to come in slowly, and if we overturn, she will come out in leg wrap and we can't have the quad system of walking. Then finally we taught the thing that most teachers can't teach, which is what would happen if we put the left leg in instead of the right. So I'm still twisting to my left, but this foot now has a turning force applied to it, which makes me rotate, which means we can get these gancho combinations where the follower is effectively hooking on my inside leg, and as I rotate around, because my chest is moving, she then hooks on the other leg. So this is a fairly simple enganche combination. So anyway, thank you for watching and enjoy the stuff about the fusion class. Hello, welcome to this Urban Tango Nights recap video for our Fusion Day in Cardiff on the 8th of March. So this day consisted of 4 workshops, 1 dedicated to blues, 1 dedicated to tango, 1 dedicated to modern jive, and 1 dedicated to zouk. And at each end of each workshop, we did a look at the similarities between the dances and how you can fusion. So we started off with blues. We started off with a blues posture of feet apart, into the knees, leaning forward, as if you just jumped out of a plane and you've landed on the ground. We said about how you lead in blues. You can either do it visually or by contact. And we started off with just teaching some blues steps, such as stepping to the side and drag. So these are the drag steps, step and taps where you tap the foot in. We did some fishtails where we pivot on both feet, swing the hips around to allow ourselves to do fishtails. We did some hip hits where we send the hip up. So we step to the side, drag the foot in and send the hip back from where we came. We did some triple hits where we hit high, low, high, or high, low, high, but we can do them low, high, low if you wish. We did some mooch steps where we've taken the hips around, or knees around, or Alison thinks of these as going around on the hips and allows us to move. So we could do these in partnership, visually, so we can do it from a general blues embrace. And the important part is the follower is reacting back, so it doesn't matter if she's lagging behind, and also then she can also choose not to follow or choose to do something different, and that can influence the leader back too. We also looked at some hesitations where if I send the follower one way and then whip myself back, we end up in opposition to each other. And we also looked at a point where we come into an open hand hold position, push away, take the hand between us and over so it comes onto the shoulder, and we've got a new contact point which allows us to do movements in this position, including hesitations and drags. So that was the blues workshop. Because we didn't have anything to fusion it with, we then went into tango. So we looked at the tango in grace, being more upright, and in some states of tango more locked out, but leaning into each other. Going for our standard walk, so tango is a travelling dance, where blues can either be stationary or travelling. So we had our walk, being able to change the size of our walk, the speed, adding in box steps and side steps, and then going into forward ochos by stepping to the side, twisting the chest to the left to create the space for the follower to step through. So we had our ochos, stepping in the direction of travel to change the size, being able to overturn them to make them travel down the room, or underturn them to make them travel back. We also added in some back boleos by stepping to the side, twisting the follower back first by bringing the right shoulder around the follower, whipping the chest back to get that movement, and then going into our ochos and seeing what happens if we sink into this side step, which causes the follower's leg to pin. So we have planeos, which we can take into calcitas, and also leg wraps. And the importance that the follower isn't discoed into a dog wheel on the lamppost. We then fusion this with blues, so if we form our drag steps in blues, we can look for opportunities to step between the follower's legs to get leg wraps from tango and be able to bring these positions in. We also look at what happens if you dance tango to blues music. Then we went into modern jive, so we looked at the basic, which is pushing away, getting this tension between us, releasing it to come back in, which overcomes the inertia, and then leading from our hand, so wherever the hand basically goes where the follower is going to travel, so I can take it past myself and we can change places. If we're in awkward handhold situations, we lift the hand to turn the follower back and the hand will sort itself out. We had what happens if we hold with the hands, so we end up with double turns. We can turn her back, and then we looked at our first fusion point by taking the hand over in a cone, and then this allows us to go into an embrace for tango. We also looked at if you bring the hand up to the leader's left shoulder and then pivot her around and step to the side, you take her into first position, which means that we can do things like hesitations in blues, or we had another tango fusion where if I take my left leg and reverse the card of my follower by stepping back onto it, it'll come around and we've naturally gone into tango. And if I step it through, instead of pivoting towards myself, I can lift this hand up and we're back into a modern jive-esque form of dance. Finally, we looked at Zouk. So we started off with the timing, so open hand, going back on the right, quick to change weight, forward on the left from the leader's point of view, and the follower's doing the opposite. taking this into infinities by stepping to the left, to the right for the leader to change place as the follower steps across. Notice, unlike the Ocho, she is stepping around in the pivot. We just do this in this direction. We can take her into duck, so I take my right hand over, dipping the follower down, putting this hand up, and getting that twirl or spin. We also looked at keeping the arms apart so the follower and the leader can get tilt through their motion. And from this spin, this is obviously a nice fusion point back into modern jive. Or, if we're in tango, if we make our Ocho stationary and we grip the hands apart, we can turn this into Zouk from this point. Also in the Zouk workshop we looked at some washing machines. So this is where we're in an embrace and I can basically move the follower around in a circle by moving my chest around in a circle, or I can send her away from me like we do in colgadas. So we're sinking away, keeping our chests away from each other and then coming back in. And again, this can allow us to come into sort of a tango form. So I think that pretty much covers everything we did in the class. Thank you everyone for coming, and we hope to see you again in another video or class very soon.